This may look like a regular scooter, but it is anything but. It is an absolute beast, going 50 miles per hour, 86 miles of range, crushing steep hills thanks to 7,000 watts of motors on board. It goes from 0 to 30 in under 4 seconds. Oh, and it costs more than my car. So that got me wondering, could I actually replace my car with the Segway GT3 Pro? This thing is very impressive. The weather's getting nicer, gas is getting more expensive. Now is the perfect time to see how long I could actually go by getting groceries, meeting with friends, commuting to work, and doing all the daily local stuff I would do, but with a scooter instead of with my car. So let's see what I can do. First thing, I want to go meet up with some friends and get some coffee. All right, so we're like halfway to the coffee shop, but I wanted to stop and talk about what it's like to actually ride this just so far. So there's 4 different modes, kind of a 5th one. So you have walk mode, which is like if you're just walking next to it somewhere and you don't want to push a heavy scooter. You have eco mode, which is relatively slow. It's like 15 miles per hour. You have sport mode, which is pretty fast, about 31 miles per hour. And then you have race mode, which goes max speed on this. And you can set this in the app. I'll show you the app later. We'll do speed tests later, but it goes up to 50 miles per hour. And in every single one of those modes, it feels appropriately responsive. So in race mode, you hit the throttle, you'll do like a small burnout, like it really goes fast. Whereas in eco mode, it's much more gentle acceleration. If you're around more people or cyclists, it's probably the safer mode to be in. It also has 2-wheel drive, and because it's a really high fork here, it tends to be really stable. Like I was riding earlier and I hit 40 miles an hour and didn't even realize it. It felt like I was doing maybe 25 miles per hour. Now, obviously, you still want to be very safe on this, but it's a really big positive that it's so stable while you're riding. Also, a big fix on this generation compared to the last one, not only do we have a nice little bell, like if you're gonna pass a cyclist or something, it's a little more gentle, not gonna startle anyone, but you also have a horn, like if a car's about to hit you and you need to alert them, that's like a pretty loud horn. That's way better than the previous generation. So that's a big positive here. We also have a little hook here so you can hang things, and I think I'm gonna use that later when we get some groceries. Also, one more really useful thing, this display on here is incredible. So it shows me pretty much anything I need, but check this out. So there is technically enough room on either side to maybe mount a phone. It gets a little tight, but the display is actually incredible. You can navigate using the display. So in the app, you set your destination, it tells you how long it's gonna take, and then it'll just show up with your next turn on the display there. And as you get close to the next turn, you get like a little red bar that expands across like the distance. It'll say like 500 feet and it'll be like almost all red there, and you know your turn is coming up soon. So that's actually really useful for, obviously you don't want to be riding one hand, that's incredibly dangerous. All right, so we've arrived at the first challenge with a scooter like this, which is you can't just like lock the doors and hope no one takes this. This is something that could technically be like carried away and stolen, but there's luckily 3 ways we could do this. So first of all, I'm gonna lock this on a bike rack, kind of like that. And fortunately, this scooter has a couple places we can lock. One is gonna be on the front here. This is more so plastic. So you are able to feed a lock through here and onto like something else. But my preferred method is probably gonna be down here. You can see this rail right here. I can easily feed a lock through there. It's metal, so again, if someone's gonna steal it, they're gonna have to probably cut the lock, which they could do on any other bike anyway. So there we go. That is one good way to stop some theft here. Now there is one more way to kind of limit some theft, something that's a lot easier than doing this. Like if you're just running in really quickly, this can lock digitally, and there's 2 ways you can unlock it. You can either have a code on there, or you can do AirLock. AirLock is connected to your phone, so when your phone, like you get near this, it'll automatically unlock. It's pretty seamless as long as you have your phone with you. I've used it on many other Segway devices, and it works pretty well. So we're back from the coffee shop, and now I want to go get some groceries. But while I was in there, I was thinking about, all right, this is locked up. I got the lock, I got the digital lock. There's also a third trick that this scooter has up its sleeves that I noticed in the app, and this is the ability to connect to the Find My network. So it's basically like an AirTag. If somebody stole this and ran around with it, and there were like other iPhones around, which there always are, it'll tell you where this is. So that should deter theft, or at least help you to recover it if someone ever did take this. Now I think the grocery store is probably gonna be my biggest challenge yet. Carrying like any amount of stuff on here is gonna be difficult. I have a couple ideas. One, I'm gonna hang a bag on the little handlebars here. There's like a nice hook right there. And 2, I'm gonna have to use a backpack. This is something I did in college when I had a moped, and that was like the only way I got to the store. You're not gonna get a huge grocery haul, but for just like a quick couple things for dinner, or I don't know, maybe like 4 days of groceries, it's definitely doable. All right, so it's hard to tell on this camera how steep this hill is, but I want to do a little hill climb test. We're going to go into sport or race mode. I will put it in boosting, and we're going to take on this hill, see how it does. All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. Oh man, wow. Whew. Absolutely no problem at all. It crushed that hill. Wow. Now you have to recharge the boost, you can see right there, but man, it was doing burnouts all the way up. All right, this is gonna be a problem. I was expecting like a regular bag with a handle so I can hook it here. Paper bags don't have that, so I guess I'm gonna just try to. That's not, I don't, no. All right, I guess I'm just gonna keep this at my feet. Luckily the deck, if you look at the deck, it's pretty wide. It's like pretty large, so I feel like I could fit like one small thing between my feet if I was riding. Not ideal. If I was gonna get groceries again, I would definitely bring like a reusable bag. All right, that's definitely not gonna work. I feel like that's kind of dangerous to ride on any busy road with that, so I'm gonna have my wife come in and pick that up. But as far as scooters go, this is actually really good at carrying more stuff. That was my fault. If I brought like a reusable bag, I could hang it here, and I feel like it wouldn't swing around too much. It's a pretty solid hook, pretty tight hook there. But there is a large deck, so like on a short ride, you could do that. But overall, this scooter is rated for 330 pounds. So like if you're a lighter rider, you could technically do that. I guess technically you could even fit a second person on here. That'd be really dangerous, so you probably don't want to do that. But I'm gonna ride home now, and then I wanna show you guys the rest of this scooter. I haven't really done like a full design tour yet. There's a lot of really cool features, and we'll dig into the app too. Okay, so starting off on the left side, let's talk about the handlebars here. You've got pretty solid grip, honestly, pretty wide as well. So even with some gloves, which I was riding with, still easy to use these. You've got the rear brake here. We've got the horn, which I'll do a little horn test again. Yeah, it's loud. It sounds like a car horn, honestly. And then down here, you can't even really see it, but there's a little bell where your thumb would go. And that would, again, probably be better if you're like passing a cyclist or something. Here we've got blinkers. So I'll show you the blinkers when it's dark out, but it beeps the entire time it's blinking. So you turn the blinker off by pressing it that direction again. It's kind of like a joystick left, right. This is the headlight control. So a little dial there to switch between low beam, high beam, automatic, and headlight off. And then if you push it while you're riding, just press it once. Right now it's not allowed because I'm not driving. That's gonna be your cruise control. Then in the middle, you have your 2.4-inch smart TFT color display. Like I said, this is pretty solid. It's very different than the last generation where you had that kind of greenish translucent one. We've got like a little bit of a sun cover here, so it makes it a little bit easier to see, and like you won't get bugs landing on here. But I find it's easy enough to see in broad daylight or at night. And then over here, we've got our power button, as well as you can switch between all the different modes with this dial. So we've got like race mode, walk mode, eco, sport, and that's pretty much it on this side, except your other brake, and of course your twist throttle here, which you might be thinking, it'd be nice if it was a thumb thing. I agree, it'd be nice if it was thumb or twist. I've seen some people 3D print something to go on here to act as that, but what I do is I just use the cruise control from riding for a long time, kind of reduces that fatigue there. So you can see, like I said, the fork is pretty high, pretty nice stem up here. You're able to fold it down by pulling this up, then pull this out. It's a really easy, like not too easy, like I feel like it's very secure when it's on there, but you don't struggle to get that undone. Just pull it up and back, and it folds down. It doesn't like really latch down there because this is about 117 pounds, but there is a nice handle on the front here. And then on the back, I usually just grab on either side. This is a metal bar here. And like if you have to load it into a car or something, like, yeah, it's definitely heavy. It's doable, but like you wouldn't want to like walk up to your apartment every day with this. It's not going to be a light commuter scooter. It also has like just overall really premium, well thought out design. Like watch this. When you go up, it just automatically latches, so you never have to worry about riding with this not latched. And then you can see this little cutout right here, also a thoughtful part of the design. So when it folds down, the display kind of gets tucked in here, so it's not like bottoming out on the display. And also, so the display is like a little bit more protected when it's not in use. And over here, you can see the charging port just flips up like that. We also have a little plastic cover. This thing is IPX6 water resistant. Now, one more thing about the display here, this also works like not just to show you how fast you're riding, but you'll see different modes show you different things. So like if you go to like Eco, for example, it shows you the range, and then your speed is like a lot smaller. Whereas if you're in sport or in race mode, speed is huge and everything else is smaller. But you can customize a lot of this in the app. It also shows you incoming calls, you have real-time ride data synced to your phone, and you also have navigation, as I mentioned before, which shows you like the next turn on screen. One of the observations I made from riding this today is that whenever you stop, it doesn't like automatically go to park mode and you have to like turn the wheel a bunch of times to get back to your riding mode. That's what older generations did. Now it does still go to park mode, but to get out of it, all you do is squeeze the brake and it goes right back to like race mode, for example, right now. So I find that's a lot easier when you're like at a red light or something and you have to start. It also beeps and tells you when it goes to park mode. I think that sometimes happens a little too fast. Maybe it's something you can adjust in the settings though. So I want to ride this again today. Probably going to go play some pickup basketball. I'm going to go in and get changed first and then head to the courts. Now there's so much this scooter does way better than the last generation, but one thing I wish we had on this that a lot of other scooters in this price range have would be a regen brake, like a dedicated thumb regen brake that when you're going down a hill, you can press it, it kind of gently slows you down instead of burning out your brakes. This obviously comes with an app. It's a Segway device. So looking at the app, there's a lot you could do here. The dashboard shows you like how fast you're riding in real time. If you had this mounted on the handlebars, that would be really useful. It shows you like the range and stuff like that. You can go into deeper settings, and this is always changing. Segway's adding all kinds of things like park on slope, so it's not going to roll backwards on you. You've got auto power off, so if you just walk away from it, when's it going to lock and turn off? Traction control system, pretty advanced. They have that on here. And you can, adjust your speed modes, for example. So if you just don't want to ever go into sport mode, you can disable that so you never accidentally do that. Or you can actually adjust the maximum speeds by going right there, by going to this. You can say, all right, maybe instead of hitting 50, I want to stop at like 40, 45 miles an hour. You can adjust the sound effects, the light, and I'll actually show you in a second what the tail lights and headlights actually look like, including the blinkers on here. And Segway's always adding new things, like this scooter's got abs, as you can tell. And you can customize the locking functions, like I said, where you have the code lock, or you could have air lock, which is using your phone proximity to unlock it. Now lastly, it's finally dark enough for me to show you the headlights. You can see we have the low and high modes. Definitely a significant difference there. The low is supposed to go 118 feet and the high is supposed to go 246 feet. So definitely a much longer distance depending on where you're riding. If you don't want to blind cyclists, go with the low. If you need to see far, go with the high. There's also an auto headlight as well. And of course you just turn it off. And overall, this is an awesome scooter. There's a lot that I really like about it. Could it actually replace my car? Well, there's some obvious downsides you need to be aware of. One is going to be inclement weather. Like today is really nice, but if it was raining, I wouldn't want to take this out. This is IPX6 water resistant, so the scooter would be okay, but the tires and two wheels, like it's just like a motorcycle or a bicycle. You don't really want to be out in the rain, especially not in the snow or any kind of inclement weather. It's definitely dangerous. That's the second big drawback. Even if the weather's nice, you're flying through the air at maybe 50 miles an hour on a scooter. So this is something that is even more dangerous, I would say, than a motorcycle, because you really need to have two hands on the handlebars at all times. This is one of the most stable scooters I've ridden, and yet you could hit a rock, you could hit a squirrel, cars could swerve in front of you. It's definitely dangerous. So if you end up riding this, even just for fun, I would highly recommend get some gear. So if you do fall, you have a much better chance of getting up and being mostly okay. The third drawback, as we saw with the grocery store, is that you don't have a lot of storage on here, unlike some mopeds, for example, or bicycles that might have a basket. Maybe you could mount a basket on this. I'm not sure how that would look, but at least for me, mostly backpacks how I'm transporting stuff with this. And the last drawback is it depends on where you're using this. Different states have different laws and regulations. Your state might allow you to ride this on the road. Some states might allow you to take it on bike trails. Some states might not allow it at all. So you want to look into your local laws and regulations before considering this. But there are plenty of positives to using this instead of my car. One is that you don't really have the same issues with like traffic and congestion and parking. Like if you're going to a small town, it's a really convenient way to get around. Again, much like you would experience on a bicycle. Also, if you don't have a big driveway or garage, you can store this in a much smaller space than your car, either as your primary vehicle or maybe as just a backup vehicle. Like you might be wondering, why was I even doing this experiment in the first place? Well, my car is actually in the shop this week, and I had this all winter, and I was thinking about riding it, and this was the perfect week to do it. Another big benefit is going to be cost effectiveness. Obviously, it's not a cheap device to buy, but I mean, cars aren't either. And if you have this as like a little commuter to get around and save a bunch of gas, like, yeah, this is electric. It's not gonna cost you really barely anything to ride around or to recharge this. Of course, the biggest benefit is going to be that it's fun to ride. And even if you don't use it as a car replacement, I think most people, probably 95% of people who buy this, are mostly going to use it just for joy rides. Riding around this thing is absolutely just so fun. It is one of the most capable and just well-designed scooters I've ridden. And also, again, I've kind of been comparing it to a moped a little bit just because that's something I used a lot every day back in college. That was how I got around. This is much faster than a moped. So obviously the benefit there is that you can accelerate much more quickly into like traffic or any environment like that, but also it's just more powerful for like going up hills, for example. My old moped could not get up any hills. As you saw on the hill test, this thing crushes hills. So should you replace your car with this? Well, I think for most people out there, the answer is gonna be no. Like, you can't have any passengers, you can't go in inclement weather, you can't go on highways. But if you're in town and you just need to get around, or if you want this as a second vehicle, it's kind of really fun and very practical in many aspects, as long as you're aware of the drawbacks and that fits with your lifestyle. So let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Should I try this with like an e-bike or like an e-moto style bike, the Super 73 styles? I thought it was a fun experiment, but let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe. I'm Mike O'Brien. I'll see you in the next one.